I became a Dave Ramsey disciple, and in the fall I really dug in, and it was a life-changing experience. So I want to share with you a little bit about Dave Ramsey. First of all, he's 62 years young. He worked his way through college by selling property while at the University of Tennessee, and he earned a BS in finance and real estate. Although he kind of fell off the wagon, he filed for bankruptcy in 1988 when he had about $4 million in assets, and he said in loans and lines of credit, but about 1.2 million got recalled, and he oddly enough did not have one. So after filing for bankruptcy, he went back to really conservative financial, processes, and he started giving financial advice after that. And today he is host of a nationally syndicated radio show, The Ramsey Show, with 18 million weekly viewers. Those of you that have Sirius XM radio, he's on Triumph station. And he's written several books, including the New York Times bestseller, The Total Money Maker, which has a lot of readers. So that's Dave Ramsey. So let's talk about some general what he really believes in. So some key beliefs. Cash is king. You don't want to use any credit. Everything you buy is with cash. He encourages the use of money envelope system, which is so let's say you get your monthly, you put an envelope for restaurants, you have an envelope for pets, you have an envelope for date night, you have an envelope for everything, and once that envelope is empty, because they're running out of cash, you're done spending. And the idea is he wants to increase spending friction, so he wants to make it difficult to spend. So never, ever use credit cards. The only thing you can do with a debit card that you can't with a credit card is pick up debt. And the borrower is slave to the lender. That's he's an evangelical Christian. That's something he picks up from the Bible. He says anything with wheels should be worth half your income. So all your vehicles, RVs, everything should be worth half of your annual income. He doesn't agree with student loans. He says the only acceptable debt is the home mortgage. And we'll get to on baby step 6 when we talk about why he's okay with home loans. And he advocates for the debt snowball, which we'll get to shortly. This is the base of his Financial Peace University course, which has about 10 million students total, ever. And Dave Ramsey's baby steps is what most of the speech is going to be on. That's what we'll talk about here. So, first step of the baby step is to get an emergency starter fund. So you develop a budget, everything goes in there. How much you spend on utilities, how much you spend on food, how much you spend on your vehicle. And an ongoing review, because he always says, for example, you're going to spend more on food than you think you really are. It says to save $1,000 for your emergency starter funds. Always have $1,000 in savings for emergencies. And this is for small life expenses like vehicles, home appliances, other emergencies. And this was the reason he came up with this. This was originally part of his baby steps, but people would have an emergency and they were attacking their debt in baby step 2, and they'd have an emergency and they'd regress. They didn't like it. So, baby step 2, pay off all debt using the debt snowball. What's the debt snowball? I'm going to tell you. You organize all your debts, vehicles, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, and you pick from smallest to biggest, which usually probably going to be your credit cards, vehicles higher, student loans higher than that. List all your debts from smallest to largest, regardless of interest rate, pay the minimum payment on all the debts, and then attack the smallest debt until it's gone. Then you take the money from that one and you put it onto your bigger debts. And he says the reason you do this is do without, regardless of your interest rate, is debt is a head problem, it's not a math problem. So this doesn't include the home mortgage. That's in baby step number 6, which we'll get to. Then you take your monthly budget, which has everything in it, and you set aside 3 to 6 months of expenses. So look at your budget, set aside 3 times. This will protect you from life surprises without going back into debt. So examples, you need a new vehicle, you lose your job, pregnancy, legal issue, medical expenses, home repair, relocations. If something one of those things happens, you're like, I'm not worried. I got 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank, in cash, don't have to worry. And this is the key to financial freedom. All of a sudden, you don't have to worry about money. That's baby step 3. Baby step 4 is invest 15% of your income in retirement. So slow it down. You're no longer in gazelle mode, right? You've got your savings. You've got money. You're good to go. So invest 15% of your gross income in retirement, IRAs, 401k, mutual funds, and then this is kind of sexist, but he says get a money guy. So always want somebody else reviewing your money. It's not so enough. You could be a money woman. I'm sure there are wonderful woman money managers out there, but the point is get somebody else looking at your money. And he says you should only be working after age 60 because you want to. Second careers, that sort of thing. All right, baby step 5. Save for your children's college fund. And you're saying, I don't have kids. That's okay. You're going to invest in a 529 college plan or an educational. So for you and your family's children, pay it forward. So you've done really well. Give someone else the opportunity. So baby step 6. This is the big dog. Pay off your home early. So this debt is different because you got to live somewhere. You can't just live on the street. I mean, you could, but you're going to have trouble doing other baby steps. You live on the street. And homes appreciate. So the one thing you spend money on that is actually going to increase in value. Everything else, you buy a car, it immediately loses value. You buy a computer, it reduces value. Everything else you buy loses value. Homes increase in value, in general. Your mortgage is the only thing between you and financial freedom, or complete freedom from debt. And also at this stage of your life, you're probably looking to downsize. Maybe some of your parents have bought a smaller home now that they don't have as many kids in the house. They're looking to downsize. So then the last one is build wealth and give. This is where he talks about, he gets in a little trouble. He talks about tithing. Those of you that are Catholic know what that is. People without debt do whatever they want, live and give like no one else, and be outrageously generous. So leave an inheritance for your children and their children. That's baby steps. Now I want to tell you an interesting story. So he really is. When he believes something, he believes in it really strongly. There was this timeshare exit company that he bumped and gave ad space to, and he said, "All right." So once he did that, timeshares, because he really doesn't believe in timeshares. Timeshares are the devil. He endorsed the company and increased their clients by tens of thousands. But then the timeshare didn't like this, so they sued them into submission and said, "We're not going to have this timeshare exit company." Well. So what Dave Ramsey did, said, all right, he backed him. He's like, I've got a 47-acre building. I've got $300 million in the bank. Come at me. You done pissed off the wrong hillbilly. That's what he said. So, and then the timeshare exit company continued to help people get out timeshares. And I've already hit minutes, but that's okay. We're going to keep going because this is the most exciting part of this. Yeah. So, Dave Ramsey-ish. So he always talks about you can't do Dave Ramsey partially, you got to do it all the way. You can't ish them. You can't, pick and choose which ones you want to follow. But there are Facebook groups and social media groups that call themselves Dave Ramsey-ish, because there are people that say, okay, I agree with Dave Ramsey, but there's some things I just don't. First of all, he has a one-size-fits-all approach. Not everything he does is going to fit every financial situation, everybody equally. Controversial business practices. A couple of these are so there's this guy Chris Hogan who was like kind of going to take over for him, but it found out that he was cheating on his wife, and he cheated on his wife with some other coworkers, and it's all right, you can't work here anymore. You can't. I don't agree with this, but you can't come out at the office. During the height of COVID, December 2020, he had one to have a Christmas party, and he said, all right, none of the staff can wear masks, none of the serving staff wear masks. This kind of goes with his way or the highway kind of approach, but that's a controversial business. And he says, well, if you don't want to work here, you don't have to work here. You can go work somewhere else. But if you want to work here, you got to follow these guidelines, which you can do as a private business. Having access to easy-to-use, inexpensive credit is reassuring. If you're out and something emergency happens, it's handy to have $5,000. You can just throw at a problem. That's handy. So people say you miss out on credit rewards. If you're going to spend the money anyway, why don't you use something that's going to give you 2, 3, 4% cash back? Also, credit cards offer better fraud protection. There is value in having a vehicle that goes when you turn the key. He always talks about, spend $1,000, get a beater, get a car that's just going to run. But I've seen people lose their jobs because they or can't get to work, can't get to school because they just don't have a vehicle that's reliable. And that's the thing. So take advantage of your home equity to make high interest investments. So putting all your money into your home may not be the best because you're only going to get whatever your interest rate, but you can put that into an investment and get 8%. You miss out on the opportunity to build credit. If you don't use any credit cards, don't borrow any money, you don't have a credit rating. That's kind of important today because credit is used for vehicle insurance, home purchases, employment decisions. And student loans are essential to society, some people say. He doesn't agree with student loans, but some people say we need to have student loans. And the last thing is 0% financing allows people to pay for larger expenses over a longer period of time. So, if all that seemed really interesting, you're like, gosh, how do I learn more? I'm sure that's everybody. The way you can do it is you can enroll in Financial Peace University. So you can find out more information at their website. It's $80 for a 9-lesson course that covers budgeting, baby steps, and more. Now, you guys all have birthdays. Maybe you have Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you got. I would make a good bet that if you put this on your wish list, you would probably get it from your family. So that's Dave Ramsey.